I don't think I need to see someone who has been twice impeached and is a disgrace and a one-term president with 91 counts facing him. I think it legitimizes him. I don't need to be gaslit by Trump. We all know who he is. We all know what he stands for. We also know that Biden debated him twice and just like sort of mopped the floor with him.
Debates are supposed to be about ideas and track records and agendas and policies. And that's the last thing the supporters of Joe Biden want. Joe Biden is incapable of actually defending himself against charges in a courtroom. That's what the special prosecutor determined in his classified documents case. Joe Biden is incapable for sitting for 10 minutes for a live interview during halftime at the Super Bowl. Joe Biden is incapable of conducting a press conference, and he's incapable of actually participating in an interview without having cards with not just handwritten notes and answers, but in some cases, the pre-approved handwritten questions so he knows what's coming. He's incapable of walking up the short stairs of Air Force One without a Secret Service agent there to catch him should he fall. And he's incapable of carrying on a basic conversation without confusing the country of Egypt with the country of Mexico. So the game plan going forward is to do whatever they can to keep him from debating Donald Trump. Donald Trump, as we told you 2 weeks ago, threw down the gauntlet and challenged Joe Biden to debates. In fact, he said he's ready to debate right now. Well, over at The View, the ladies are doing their job in making sure that that never happens. Take a listen to the scenario they're laying out.
I just, I don't think I need to see someone who has been twice impeached and is a disgrace and a one-term president with 91 counts facing him. I think it legitimizes him. I don't need to be gaslit by Trump. We all know who he is. We all know what he stands for. We also know that Biden debated him twice and just like sort of mopped the floor with him. If you look at any of the studies, most Americans that watched it thought that Biden won, not only on policy, but on demeanor, especially. Does this person have the temperament to be the president? We know who Donald Trump is. I don't think you give him that type of platform.
But also, if Biden flubs, they'll be all over him. If Trump flubs,
if he doesn't show up, they'll be all over him. But here's the thing. A lot has happened since 2020. January 6th hadn't happened. Donald Trump needs to have to stand next to Joe Biden. Joe Biden needs to call him out on the unfitness, because the reality is we all at this table,
I would say he had nothing to do with it.
Table, we all know who Donald Trump is. Nearly 80 million people voted for him. They need to see the juxtaposition of the two leaders.
Oh, there's a whole lot to unpack here. First of all, Sunny Hostin with it. We don't need to legitimize Donald Trump by letting him on the debate stage with Joe Biden. We don't want to platform Donald Trump. This is so typical of how the left views you. Can I just help you out here, Sunny Hostin? You and your friends in the media at ABC News or any of the networks, you elites in Manhattan, you're not legitimizing or platforming Donald Trump by deigning to allow him to share the stage with Joe Biden. No, the voters have legitimized Donald Trump. The Republican Party is having a primary caucus process. Republican voters are deciding who's going to be standing on that stage, representing them. This isn't about Donald Trump, as usual. This is about you. All of the venom and hate and disregard and disdain and condescension that you see from Sunny Hostin and Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg about Donald Trump, it's actually about you. You see, you're the one Republican voter who has legitimized Donald Trump. You know everything that they're saying about him. You know all the charges that have put up against him. And you have said, this is the man I want to represent me. And these women cannot stand it. They hate it. And so then they take on the role of being the ones who would legitimize Donald Trump. It's up to Sunny Hostin to decide who is legitimized on the national stage. I don't think so, dear. We have a process here. Donald Trump played in that process. He's winning the nomination. He's going to win the nomination. And that's how it goes. And now afterwards, they're just trying to protect Joe Biden by saying, well, we shouldn't legitimize him with a place on the stage. So there's that. Also, I love Alyssa Farah from so-called conservative position on the table, galloping in and saying, well, no, because a lot has happened in the last 4 years, and I think Donald Trump needs to answer for January 6th. Oh, because we haven't had already 2 years worth of kangaroo court hearings led by Liz Cheney, where Republicans and Donald Trump weren't even allowed to have any representation on the panel. They had a primetime show laying out everything that they had on January 6th, and now we found they hid a bunch of evidence and then destroyed evidence after their hearings. As if Donald Trump isn't actually literally facing criminal charges over January 6th because of the trumped-up, made-up special prosecutor attack on him from Jack Smith. But no, what Alyssa Farah says, a woman who, by the way, worked for the Trump administration right up until the moment of the January 6th events. And now suddenly she's Joy Behar's best friend until Joy doesn't need her anymore. She's now saying that Donald Trump needs to be on that stage so he answers for January 6th. Boy, I would love for a lot of people to answer to January 6th. But I'll take Alyssa Farah at her main point, which is, yes, a lot of things have happened over the course of the last 4 years. I mean, I think it's worth asking Joe Biden a couple of questions about Afghanistan and seeing how he defends his record. You see, this presidential election is pretty much all about whether you want 4 more years of Joe Biden. And so the debate is really about him defending his record. And you see, this is really why they don't want him on that debate stage. I mean, partly because of the mashed potato for brains, certainly, and the inability to focus and cognitively communicate any ideas without mixing up Mexico and Egypt, without any sort of memory recall. But also because they don't want to put him in a position to have to defend the atrocities that we've seen over the last 4 years, the atrocious Biden presidency. Let's start with Afghanistan. The death of 13 service members, solely his responsibility because of his failed pullout. Also, the people that we left behind in Afghanistan. We also have a war in Eastern Europe. We have a war in the Middle East. He's now literally in the process of throwing our ally Israel under the bus by going to the UN and trying to force a ceasefire in Israel and the Gaza territories against our ally Israel's wishes. And boy, the irony of going to the UN, a group, an organization that has been found to have members of UNRWA, the UN Human Rights Organization, actually participating in those terror attacks. And now Biden, instead of condemning the UN, he's running to the UN to throw Israel under the bus. Oh, but let's not stop there. Let's also make Joe Biden answer for the disaster at the southern border. See, they don't want him on the stage because they don't want him to face questions about what he's done in allowing over 8 million illegal aliens into this country and the crime that has come with it. While we're at it, let's ask Joe Biden about inflation and the economy and how he has stifled drilling in this country and energy independence that he was handed by the Trump administration. You see, debates are supposed to be about ideas and track records and agendas and policies. And that's the last thing the supporters of Joe Biden want. And that's why you're seeing this parade of people now coming up saying, no, there can't be any debates. Besides, there's nothing new to learn. There's nothing new to learn? Oh, there's a whole lot that's happened, definitely, since Joe Biden became president. And he should have to answer for those things, shouldn't he? So the debate continued there at the View table. Here, let's take a look.
I disagree with you, actually. And I say that because normally my gut would tell me it's good for democracy. I caveat that with, if we did not know these two men as well as we do, it would be more important for them to be debating. The problem is, for the reasons you just spelled out, Donald Trump comes on and I wish they'd put him in phone booths and cut mics after a certain amount of time, because in addition to the fact checking, he overtalks, gaslights, and everything else. So oftentimes the comparison to Donald Trump makes anyone look less than on some level. You know, like, I know he looks crazy too, but remember how he'd like come behind Hillary when she was like, he was like always hovering. He has these like nonverbal cues that could lead some to believe, oh, he's so strong or he's this, but he just blows the whole thing out of the water. And if he hasn't debated anyone yet, the only debate I would like to see is him and Nikki Haley. If he would debate Nikki Haley, I would support that. I don't think Biden needs to, since Donald Trump has done nothing to participate in this democracy since he lost.
Hillary,
Do you ever try to follow the logic of somebody on the left like this and follow the logical trail of their thoughts, and then you realize you've gone into a dead end? So Donald Trump behaves himself atrociously on the stage. He will lie and nobody will be there to fact check him. They should be able to cut off his microphone at any given time. He hovers behind Hillary Clinton and acts like an alpha male, and that's a terrible thing. So he shouldn't be on the debate stage unless it's against Nikki Haley. Then it would be okay. Wait, I'm sorry. Which principled position did you just lay forward that we have to suspend if the opponent on the debate stage is Nikki Haley? And one must reach one of two conclusions. The first is that maybe she thinks that Nikki Haley is the only one who is equipped to be able to combat Donald Trump because Joe Biden, once again, has mashed potatoes for brains. So we'll allow Nikki Haley to do it because she'll be able to fight back on the debate stage, which I think is certainly open for question. Or, and I think this is more realistic, she's okay if Republicans are debating against each other because that hurts Republicans in the long run. And that's really what we're seeing here, because they're not news analysts and they're not political analysts. They're liberal Democrat analysts. And everything they do and everything that they say has that end in sight. Let's have Joy Behar give us the last word.
I was going to say, Hillary should have said to him, "Get away from me, you orange menace."
Yeah.
She should have said that.
She should have kicked her foot backwards.
Yeah,
and hit him where
Joe
it hurts.
Biden, I believe he said, "Shut up, man," or "Keep quiet, man."
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is that. But, the truth of the matter is the research shows that presidential debates have minimal, if any, influence on election outcomes.
Yes.
People don't remember it. This is like a replay of 2020. We've seen the movie, and the media does not fact check. It's almost impossible
It's
to
hard
do
to
it.
do.
I like the mic cutting. That's really
The
important.
last
Stop us
time
from talking.
a debate really worked was back in the Ice Age when Nixon debated JFK. And everybody who listened to the radio said that Nixon won the debate.
yeah.
And if you watch it on television, they said that John Kennedy won because he was handsome, he was vibrant,
Nixon was
and
sweating
Nixon
and
was
he looked
swarthy with a beard and looking like a real menace.
So there you go. The last time a debate ever mattered was in 1960. And thank God our guy won because he looked better. That's the intelligent, principled, logical discussion that you get at The View every day. And that's ABC News for you. It's a beautiful thing to behold. So the narrative is set. We don't need debates. We already know who these guys are. They don't have anything new to bring to the table. Donald Trump shouldn't be platformed or legitimized anyway. And besides, debates don't matter. They haven't mattered since 1960. Although I think historians might suggest that Ronald Reagan stamping down any concerns about his age against Walter Mondale in 1984, when he said he wouldn't exploit Mondale's youth and inexperience. I think that was a pretty effective presidential debate. I think perhaps Ronald Reagan also pushing back on Jimmy Carter with his "there you go again" back in 1980 also served to help the Gipper win landslides in both of those elections. But see, they want to pretend that never happened because that was a Republican. And they hated Reagan just as much as they hate Trump. In fact, it's also the same kind of hate. Look at the things they said about Reagan. I promise you, it'll be quite familiar from what you're seeing these days against really any Republican in my lifetime. Why don't they want Joe Biden to debate? The real answer, as usual with the left, is everything they say about Donald Trump is really the truth about Joe Biden. Donald Trump will filibuster and he'll steal all the time. Well, if you actually analyze the last couple of debates between Trump and Biden, it was Biden who ended up being able to speak more than Donald Trump. The moderators tilted in his favor, not in Trump's favor. Well, they should be able to fact check them in real time. Well, they attempted actually to fact check Donald Trump. Remember when Candy Crowley fact checked Mitt Romney against Barack Obama during the 2012 debate? And in fact, her fact check was a lie. And the fact checks against Donald Trump from Chris Wallace and Kristen Welker this last time around were also lies. So they fact check. They fact check Republicans, But you know what didn't get fact checked in the last debate that I would love to revisit in 2024? This moment right here.
50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage.
This is classic Trump. We have 4 days left, and all of a sudden there's a laptop. There's overwhelming evidence that from the intelligence community that the Russians are engaged.
I still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation at a smear campaign, like you said.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yep. You see, it was all Russian disinformation. That moment in the debate there where he deflected any suggestion that his son, Hunter, his brother, James, and he himself were involved in corrupt activities with foreign nations. He wrote off to being Russian disinformation and then cited 51 former intelligence people, including 5 former CIA directors, all saying that it was a Russian plant. But of course, now we know that story about Russian disinformation with 51 former intelligence officers, that story was planted by the Biden campaign. So yeah, I would love to revisit that issue on the debate stage, considering what Joe Biden got away with on the last debate stage.